All right, I am here with Matt Alder, who stopped in to check out our new brand. Now, what do you think? You've known ICIMS for a while. What do you think of our new brand?
I think it looks great. I think it's you can sort of tell as you're sort of walking through the show. It does actually really stand out. It's like the kind of the minimalist approach and the colours. It's good. I like it.
So you've been to Transform a couple of times. What do you think of this year?
It's busy this year. It's really grown. There are some fantastic people here. I really like this show because it's really based around conversations, and there are some just great conversations going on. So, I think I've always thought it's great, and this year has been, as I say, a real kind of scale up, and they've not lost any of that community or any of that sort of conversational basis. So, it's great.
Yeah, I got to talk to a couple of people yesterday who came in the booth, and I used to be in sales, but I always would say, what problem are you trying to solve? And it was like, that's what they came in, like, don't tell me about your brand. Here's what I'm trying to solve. Can you do it? Can you not? And I know we had you in our Fireside chat, and you were talking about the assessment that you built for Future Proof and looking at the content of AI and all this other kind of stuff. Have you learned anything since we last talked?
I've continued to kind of work on that. AI's got better, so I'm better. Basically, what I've been doing is extracting data from all the conversations I've had on my podcast. So that's now 779 interviews or something, something ridiculous. And what I'm seeing is that the TA leaders, the CPOs, the people who are really thriving in this chaotic and disruptive environment, they're the ones who are curious. They're the ones who understand how influence works. They understand how technology solves problems. And I think one of the big conversations I've had with a few people this week has been not chasing those shiny objects. It was almost like moving a little bit slower to move quicker. So really understanding what problems are we trying to solve? How do we best do that? What is it that AI can actually give to us that drives value for our organization? And I think that's a great shift in conversation as well, because I think that there are still lots of organizations who are chasing productivity and efficiency, really with processes that are not fit for purpose. And I think that the people who are reflecting and thinking about how AI can really add value to what they do as talent professionals, as a talent function, are the people who are kind of really sort of doing well at the moment. So I think we'll see more of that moving forward, because the technology is just moving at such a quick pace. It's just incredible what we can do now that we couldn't do last year. So
very different from whenever you and I got into recruiting.
Yes,
very
absolutely,
different. We would have loved this back in the day, but it's funny you were talking about slowing down to speed up. I think one of the things that I've heard a lot about is governance. Whenever I'm talking in the market and everything, it's gone from how do we handle bias to how do I set a governance framework. And we talk a lot about that because we've got our own governance framework. So are you hearing the same thing in the market?
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's a really big thing about talent HR being more mature about how they think about risk, because this isn't about avoiding risks completely. It's about understanding where the big risks are with this, because you can't just ignore this and say, do you know what, we'll come back to AI and this technology in 5 years' time when things have settled down, because that's just not an option. So I think having that kind of better understanding of risk, of governance, of just working really closely with legal teams is what we're starting to see now. So a very different kind of approach perhaps to the reaction to some of the other technological jumps we've seen, the internet, social media, where there was a very kind of, we're going to keep our hands off until we know that this is safe and risk-free. So I think this is a very different time, and I think employers are getting much more mature in terms of how they deal with that uncertainty.
Well, and speaking of uncertainty, if someone is like, okay, I want to know, am I future ready? Like, where can they go and take the assessment?
So yes, if you want to do the assessment, it's called Fit for the Future. So that is the fit is foresight, influence, talent, and technology. If you go to mattalder.me/fit, FITT, you can take that assessment. It will tell you where you sit and how you benchmark, and also give you some advice on what you can do to move forward, and kind of explains everything.
Yeah, I took it. It was pretty interesting. The results and everything. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then you've got a podcast in case someone's not heard about it. I don't know how in the world, but where would they find that?
So recruitingfuture.com, or they can listen to it wherever they listen to podcasts. And we do 2 episodes a week. 11 years in, and there's always some really interesting conversations coming out every single week, so please check it out.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my go-tos, and it's funny, the last 2 or 3 weeks I've been traveling a lot doing in-market stuff, and I always say, Matt Alder and I were talking about AI and the recruiting utopia back in 2019. Who would have thought that in 2026, just a short period of time, we'd be like seeing some of this stuff?
I know, it's funny when you said, oh, imagine if we could take this technology back in the day. I don't think we believe it. No. I think there's stuff that's kind of going on now that if you did have a time machine and you jump back 10 years, it would look like magic. I know that's a cliche, but I think that's the other thing as well. We get very used to technology as it develops. So there's a lot of things that we take for granted now that AI can do that we wouldn't have believed a couple of years ago. So sometimes it's good to get that perspective and think about just how much things have changed and what's possible. But the speed at which it's changing and in developing is just I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's exciting and exhausting.
Exactly. Both of those things.
Both of those things.
Exciting, exhausting, terrifying, and exhilarating.
Yes,
all at the same
full
time.
full spectrum.
Exactly.
Full spectrum.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for hopping in.
My pleasure.
All right, thank you.